They had radios, they smoked cigarettes, and they were drinking beer. And you look up to them. They are the Hollywood of the Amish. You guys voted. Weddings wins. I asked you guys to let me know what videos you want next. Weddings came in front just by a hair, and then my barefoot running came in second, which I will post next week if all goes well. And then after that, I will do a video on my thoughts on schooling. And hopefully I can shoot a cheese toasty video this weekend, since I made my brag that I am the best. I make the best cheese toasties. In this video, I'll be sharing a little bit about engagements among the Amish. I'll be sharing the structure, or the what do you call it? I don't know. The different parts involved, as far as like bridesmaids or bridesmen, grooms. And I'll be explaining how the day goes. And if I'm lucky, I might be able to get my wife on here to talk about her view of what an Amish wedding was like compared to non-Amish weddings. She attended one with me along with two of our daughters. Amish weddings outdo non-Amish people's weddings any day. So once again, full disclaimer here. When I'm talking about Amish weddings, when I'm talking about the way things are done, I am talking about the community that I come from, and only the community that I come from, because every community does it slightly different. The community I come from is the LaGrange County, Elkhart County, Indiana areas. You know, the towns of Shipshewana, Topeka, Goshen, Middlebury, all those. That's where I grew up. That's what I'll be talking about, because I never attended a wedding outside of that community. And if you stick with me till the end, I will share something that used to happen at weddings. I don't think it happens anymore as much anyway, but it used to happen, and it's really weird when you think about it. And I'll share, as a bonus, I'll share what's supposed to happen after a couple gets married, which is, I don't know why. I don't know why it's required. So, if you stick with me, I will share that bonus information in the end. Let's get into it. As we're discussing Amish weddings, I am going to be drinking a nice glass of apple cider that makes me mad. You might ask why. Well, I paid $10 for this apple cider out of the state of Washington. There's a roadside fruit stand that I can pull in with a truck, and I can pick up apple cider. It is $11 a gallon and is pasteurized. It is good, but it is nothing like the unpasteurized raw apple cider that I used to buy at Miller's Mill in Middlebury, Indiana. I paid $5 a gallon for that, and it was like drinking apples. It was delicious. If you live in the area, go treat yourself to some Miller's Mill apple cider. A buddy of mine, Amish guy of mine, also is making it now. He lives north of State Road 120 on 1000, County Road 1000 West. I don't know, probably, is it a mile? Not quite a mile north of there. Also very good apple cider. If you do stop in at Miller's Mill, tell them Carl from Idaho sent you, and they will know who I am, because I stopped in there a lot. I drank like 2 gallons by myself every week when it was in season. It's that good. That's why I'm mad at this apple cider. It's double the price, half as good. So an Amish wedding will last all day long. They will feed about 1,200 people. I think it's 1,200 plates is what they will feed in one day. There is lunch, and then dinner is served 3 times. I don't think it's 1,200 different people. It might be 1,200 different people, but 1,200 different place settings at least that they feed. The wedding is obviously the bride and the groom, and then there is usually a bishop who marries them. The bride and the groom do not have a best man and a best bridesmaid, maid of honor. Maid of honor, that's what it is. They do not have that. What they have is called nevalhaka, which is translated to side sitters. So instead of having a best man and a bridesmaid, they have a couple who is very close to the couple that's getting married. So the man usually picks a couple, a girl and a boy, usually ones who have joined the church already, to be on his side, and the bride usually picks a couple, boy and a girl, for her side to sit next to her. Sometimes they're not necessarily dating or anything. They make a couple. They have what they call table waiters. Usually about 12 sets of them, and they're all boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, right? If they're boyfriend, girlfriend, perfect. They never split them up, but they will make couples if they have to. You know, I've been put with female cousins of mine and stuff like that. It doesn't mean that we have to, that we're in a romantic relationship, obviously. So they just make 12 couples, and then they have usually nieces and nephews sometimes, or small children, who what they call puppies, who pass out pens, who pass out the guest book, kind of do runaround jobs, a little stuff. And then they have, I can't remember how many cooks. I'm thinking like 30 to 50 cooks. These are usually married women who've been married for a little bit. There's one head cook, and then the rest are cooks. They all have their specific jobs they do. And that's it. And then the guys just kind of hang out. Sometimes there's some men who do some grilling, because typically in the Amish community, men are the women cook, but the men do the grilling if there is grilling involved in the meal. That is, I guess, the wedding party is what you would call it. It is an honor to be a table waiter or naval hawker or a cook, or definitely, as a little kid, it is a really great honor to be a little puppy, to get to dress specially, different than all the other kids, and have a job. So I have shared a video of growing up Amish, which explains my childhood. I will put a little thingy here, and click on that and watch that first if you want to. And then the stage after that is Rumspringa, which means 16 till the day you start dating. I've explained that in the video. I'll put a card for that up here as well. And then I did a video on dating in the Amish community, in our Amish community. I will put a card to that up there. I hope that's where I'm putting them. This is the first time I'm going to add cards. I was told it helps the YouTube algorithm. So it makes sense. Click on those videos, go watch them. Click on the links to those videos at the end of this video if you want to watch this one first. But those videos are leading up to the marriage of an Amish couple, so maybe you want to go watch those first and then get into this one. I will also put those videos in the description box below. Once a couple has been dating for a while, usually it's a couple years, they would call it going steady. That term isn't used so much nowadays, but some of you who are older know what I'm talking about. It just means you have a steady boyfriend and girlfriend. And once they've been dating for a while, the guy usually asks the girl to marry her. He proposes to her. Oftentimes he will do it in a romantic way. I can't think of any examples now that I've heard of, but sometimes they'll take him on picnics and do some special things, or they'll take him to a fancy restaurant or something like that. I don't know if they take him to a fancy restaurant. So yeah, they propose to him, but they do so without a ring. Amish do not wear any jewelry at all. They believe the Bible says don't adorn yourself. It does say don't adorn yourselves with outside beauty. Adorn yourself with inside beauty as far as women is concerned. So they take that seriously. They don't wear any jewelry. Someday I'll do a video on makeup and dress, because I got some questions about that. So once they're engaged, they usually only tell their parents and maybe siblings. And then, like anybody else, the bride-to-be, the bride-to-be, is that the right term? I'm horrible at this. Anyway, she will start looking through wedding books, non-Amish wedding books. She will start picking out styles that she likes, colors that she likes, for tablecloths. And in an Amish wedding, they have what they call the ek. It just literally means corner. So they have the wedding inside of a big shop, usually at the bride's house. And in the corner, they have a table set up for the bride and groom, and then the naval the two couples that sit next to them. So place settings for 6 people. And the ek is decorated. Usually in our community, it was with the latest styles of, some just little decor, flowers, pictures, kind of like the bridal table at a normal wedding. And the bride will, as she's picking out all her invitation styles and all that stuff, she will also go buy fabric, and she will pick out her fabric colors that she wants her wedding party to wear. So she will pick out colors, usually 2 different colors for the table waiter girls. Half of them will wear one color, the other half the other color. And then she will usually pick 2 different colors for the cooks. Some of them will wear the one color, some the other. And these women, they make dresses specifically. They go by the material for the table waiter female will go by the material that the color that the bride wants, and she will make a dress just for that day. Obviously, it's a good, nice dress, so they will continue wearing it in the future then. But yeah, they will make a new dress for the wedding. The men usually just wear black and white, black pants, white shirt, sometimes with suspenders or bow tie. Depends on what the bride wants. The little puppies, they're so cute. They're so cute because the little girls have these little dresses on with these white aprons, and sometimes they'll pin some real flowers to their chest right here. And then the little boys will have these cute little pants, and they'll usually wear a colored shirt with cute wide suspenders, and sometimes with a flower or something pinned on them. I wish I had pictures because it is adorable. The groom usually does not. He lets the woman choose, right? So I mean, we're men. Doesn't really matter to us that much. It's not that important. So in the normal situation, he will just support his wife, and she will ask for his input. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? And yeah, I'm good. Yep, I'm good. Okay, yep. And then he'll just make sure that the finances part of it are taken care of. Usually it's the mother of the bride and the bride who decide what menu they're going to have. And then it's usually the father of the bride, the mother and father of the bride, who provide the food for the wedding and the place for the wedding. The bride does not wear a white dress. She will pick a color of her choice. Usually it's a darker color, I think. And she will she will have a wedding dress. It's just not the normal white ones that you guys are also used to. Okay, so I think I don't know if I have structured, that's what the wedding party kind of looks like. I don't think it happens so much now, but it used to be kept a secret that they're getting married up until like a month before they get married, maybe a month and a half. Then the couple will let the bishop know that, hey, we're getting married. Can you announce it to the church? So that following Sunday, the bishop will stand up and say, hey, so-and-so are getting married. And at that point, the bride who has had invitations made out and ready will send them out. And then the wedding place where it's held at, the bride's home usually, they will start cleaning up. The house, barn, landscaping, everything, just very similar to a church service. If you haven't watched my church service explain video, go watch that. That goes into detail how that's all done. You can find that in the card up here, if I get it right. As soon as they're engaged, they also have to order or reserve a cook wagon and a cooler. And the cooler is in a trailer, and the cook wagon is a kind of RV-sized, travel trailer RV-sized wagon with nothing but stoves and countertops in to cook all this food, because they cook a massive amount of food. So that has to be reserved in advance, and it is usually, the date they get married on is usually picked according to when those are available. Because usually one of those can only do one wedding per week. And if you are familiar with Amish in northern Indiana, there are a lot of weddings. So yeah, the day approaches, the house is getting cleaned up, the shop is getting ready, the bride is setting up all her tables in her dad's garage, shop area, barn, whatever they have room in. It used to be in houses when weddings were smaller. The corner is set up all nice and pretty like she wants it. The groom at the time is usually starting to groan a little bit about money just disappearing to buy all the stuff that's needed. the extra stuff, aside from the food. The groom will, a couple days before he gets married, might start growing out his beard. Just so he has a little bit of a beard on his wedding day. Men in our community do not wear a beard, do not grow a beard until they're married. So they shave up until they're married, and then they have to have a beard from then on out. I know it's different in some communities. Some communities, as soon as you join the church, you grow your beard. Not in ours. Majority of communities wait till they're married, then they grow one. So I guess that's how you can tell if they're married or not. The wedding day arrives. Some of the food has been prepped ahead of time a little bit, but the wedding is from 9 o'clock to 9 o'clock usually. So the church service starts at 9 o'clock, and it is usually held at a neighbor's house within walking distance. So they have a place where they marry the couple and have the church service, and then a reception at the bride's home. So about 8 o'clock, the bride and groom and the side sitters will head over to where the church service is held at the neighbor's house, and they will start shaking hands with guests that arrive. And it is a 3-hour service. It is very similar to a Amish church service, like the actual normal church service, other than, the fact that the married couple sitting up front and they're getting married in the middle of it all. It is a very solemn occasion. All Amish, the funerals, church services, wedding, church services are very, very serious and very, very solemn. It's really weird going back now and experiencing it again because it's so quiet and serious. Meanwhile, while the church service is going on, the cooks have started cooking, and the table waiters are helping prepare desserts. Cutting pies, mixing some fruit, some last minute stuff. And then at 10:30, they all eat, the cooks and the table waiters and the puppies, because while lunch is being served, they're going to be doing the serving. After they're done eating, the table waiters and the cooks and the puppies, they all go over to watch the couple get married. So the table waiters have a specific order. They're numbered by whatever order that the bride put them in, and they walk over in that order with the puppies and little kids following, and they all walk into the shop. The preacher stops preaching and watches. Everybody's watching. I always hated this moment as a table waiter. Everybody walks in, stays standing, and then once everybody is in, they all sit down at the same time. The preacher resumes, and then the cooks just kind of file in and sit down. Once the couple is married, I don't know, I don't think the table waiters sit in there for longer than 15, 20 minutes or so. Once the couple is married, then the table waiters all stand up. And once everybody's standing up, they all go back out the order they came in. There's a lot of, like, if you have a part as a table waiter or stuff like this, you don't get a part every other week, right? So you only get it once or twice a year, and you forget like what you're supposed to do. So it's always like a moment of, when are we supposed to go? When are we supposed to stand up and go? Because nobody directs us, right? It's just a more experienced table waiter will decide, okay, yep, we're going to stand up. So I'll stand up and go. And throughout the day, it's a lot of that. Like, what do we serve first? What are we doing here? But it all rolls very, very smoothly. Typically. Once they leave the church service continues. The cooks, the table waiters, they go back. The cooks start finishing their cooking, getting ready to dish out the food, and the table waiters start getting their tables ready, like filling water and all that. So the way the tables are set up at the reception is you have the ek dish corner table where the bride and groom, the bridal party, sits, and then you have wing tables going out each side. So those wing tables are for family, and then there's other tables just in lines, in rows, and each table waiter has one table. And at the end of that table, they have a stand of shelves, and all their utensils and bowls and stuff are on that shelf. And it's the table, the dishes that are on that table, all the utensils, all the ladles and stuff, and the serving bowls and all that stuff stay with that table the whole day. It never gets mixed up. So the table gets used. The dishes get washed at that table in tubs of hot water, and then it just gets set again right away. The table waiters are getting set up. The church service is finishing up, and then when that's done, they all come over. Usually the bride and groom are brought over in some form of open buggy with balloons and decorations, or I've seen it as jokes. People have brought them over in a little wagon pulled by a donkey, something like that. That's when they have a little bit of fun. After the church service, after that solemn, serious church service, there's a lot of fun involved. Everything kind of relaxes and the fun begins. The bride and groom sit at their table with their side sitters, and then the family of the bride and groom will fill out the wing tables, and they will sit husband next to their wife. Usually it's like the parents and the siblings, and sometimes, little kids that aren't old enough to be eating by themselves. And then for the rest of the congregation, for the noon meal, the men are with the men, the ladies are with the ladies, the little boys are with the boys, the girls are with the girls, all separated. It's just kind of how they do it. The bishop, usually the bride's home bishop, will announce that he will say, "Men de dishwashing will still hålla some gebet." When the tables are full, let's sit still in prayer. And then they do a silent prayer for a while. The bishop will, like the church service, shuffle his feet, clear his throat. Everybody knows the prayer's over, and then chatting starts. But somebody, usually family, will start a hymn. Sometimes I don't know if it's in German, I can't remember, or if it's an English hymn. They sing a lot of English hymns, so it's not always in German. But they'll start singing, and as they're singing, the whole congregation is singing. The table waiters will grab their bowls, their serving dishes, and they'll head over to where the cooks are, and the cooks will dish out their bowls of food, mashed potatoes and gravies and all that stuff. I guess here's a good place to tell you kind of what the menu looks like. The menu isn't always the same, but usually the only big difference is the meat. There's always mashed potatoes and gravy and delicious noodles, delicious dressing, some kind of veggie, and then meat. The meats usually are chicken or grilled or meatloaf maybe, or poor man's steak, something like that. Now, that might sound kind of boring for a wedding as far as meats, but if there's chicken, it's usually grilled by a few men, and it's good. Some of them know how to grill really good food. Meatloaf. Lately, it's been a lot of smoked meatloaf. That is absolutely delicious. I have never had anything like it. Poor man's steak is phenomenal. My mom made some the last time I was there. It was absolutely delicious. So those are some of the meat items. Usually that's what the congregation gets, but the ek table, they'll usually have a couple steaks grilled up for them, just for those 6 people, because they're special, right? Those are the hot foods. They also serve a salad. Sometimes, I don't know if it's so much a leafy or like a lettucey salad, but some pasta salad sometimes. I don't know. It just varies. And desserts are usually a few different kinds of pies, some form of pudding, sometimes a cake pudding too, some kind of fruit mix, and a lot of times ice cream. They buy little containers of ice cream to pass around. And then after all that, a bowl of candy bar assortments are passed around, and you can take one. This is usually the highlight for the kids, because they'll always try to sneak 2 for later in the day. Now the table waiters have gotten all the food. They have put it on their shelves. Once all the hot food is on the shelves, then they will grab the first item. There's a list hanging on the shelf to send things in certain orders. So usually it's, bread, homemade bread always, yeah. So you usually send the bread and butter, and then if there's a salad, you send the salad and the mashed potato or meat, I don't know, mashed potatoes, gravy, dressings, and all that, all in order. The table has 2 sides, so you send a bowl down each side, and you go down and retrieve it once it's done and bring it back. Once you kind of notice as a table waiter, you got to make sure the cups are filled. They're serving coffee. They also have coffee servers, which are kind of like table waiters, but they just serve coffee. And Amish people do drink coffee even on a 90-degree day. They say it cools them off. They'll use any excuse to drink coffee. Yeah. once you kind of notice as a table waiter that the plates are starting to get empty, you send the bowls again. This is where, when you're a table waiter, you're crossing your fingers that you don't get the men's table. Because if you get the men's table, you're running your butt off trying to keep these bowls filled. Because it might only make, the mashed potatoes only make it past like 8 men, right? And then you got to run and get it refilled. And but yeah, anyway, so usually you want the little kids or the ladies because they don't eat as much. So after you send seconds, you notice the the plates are getting kind of empty again. So you start sending dessert. Desserts only make it through one time. And then after that, you send the candy bars, and then you wait, or the people wait until the bishop once again calls for prayer. They pray, and then once the people are out of the table, the dishwashers will start washing dishes. And there is another married couple who usually helps the dishwashers wash the dishes. And what happens is all the plates are collected and put on a pile. A bench is set up on top of another bench. 2 tubs are brought in with a drying rack, and they both have hot water in it. One has soap, so somebody just starts washing plates and spoons and silverware and cups while the other people are gathering it up, and you rinse it. Some other guys, men, women, whatever, are drying, and as this is all happening, somebody else has got a washcloth and is washing off the table, and then they start setting up the new settings with the plates and the silverware, and because these are porcelain plates and glasses and all that, and it is, so it's just all one big motion. This is happening at 10-12 different tables, and then I don't know how long it takes, but once that's done, then you can mingle until dinner. The cooks obviously have to go back to cooking and get ready for dinner being served. From the perspective of a guest, Amish people are used to it, so it's the norm. Because they'll eat like this at Thanksgiving and Christmas too. But if you are non-Amish and you've happened to be invited to an Amish wedding, it does happen. There has been non-Amish people at every wedding I've ever been at. Just friends, co-workers, whatever, they invite everybody, they invite people they know. If you are a non-Amish person and you get invited to a Amish wedding for the first time and you sit down to eat this meal, you might, let me know in the comments how that goes, what your first experience, what you thought. Because Amish people eat a ton of food. I have noticed that since I moved to Idaho, that English people eat a lot less as far as portions. So you sit down, you got a row of people, and the food starts coming, right? And it's homemade bread. I love it. Put the butter on it, some jam, and then the mashed potatoes come, and this is going to be good. You put a lot of mashed potatoes on, you put some dressing there and a bunch of noodles, and this chicken, it smells heavenly. I'm going to throw that on my plate, and the gravy, just douse it in gravy. And the veggies, got to have some veggies to make it healthy, right? So you get all this food, and you have this full plate, and you start eating, and it's so good. It is absolutely delicious, and you guys know who've been there. And you just gorge yourself, and before you're done here, it comes again. And you're like, sweet. Those mashed potatoes were delicious. I'm taking some more. The dressing is good. I'm taking some more. That was really good chicken or ham or whatever it was. I'm taking some more of that. And you start eating again, and you're starting to get full. But, this happens really fast. You don't have time to eat slow. So once you're halfway done with that, here come the desserts. Pecan pie? Gotta have some pecan pie. Gotta have some of this fruit dessert. This cake pudding stuff I know it looks so delicious. I'm gonna have some of that, and then some ice cream. Right? Nobody leaves their plate with food on it. You got to eat it all. Everybody eats their plate clean, except for maybe some old ladies and some kids. But you got to eat it all, right? You dished it out, so you do, and you're stuffed. And then here come the candy bars, and you get to pick a candy bar and you pass it on, and heavy food. And it was good. The little story on that, I had a coworker who wasn't Amish. He went to a wedding And this was what he experienced. He just indulged himself. And on the way home, I think he was there at the evening only, but on the way home, he had to go. He was with his wife and kids, but he had to go, and he had to go now. He said, I pulled in at the next house. I don't think it was an Amish house. Maybe it was Amish. I can't remember. He had no idea who lived there. It didn't matter. He pulled in, he knocked on the door and walked in and said, where's your bathroom? I have to go, and I have to go now. Yeah, it's a little bit of a funny story. Be careful for that, I guess. After lunch, it's just time to mingle and hang out, and because the cooks eat again at 4:30, and it's just the cooks that eat at 4:30. But at 5:30 and 7 o'clock, there's 2 more rounds of meals served. So up until that time, some people go home because they've only been invited for the church service and lunch. Some people stay; they've been invited all day, but some go home and do their chores and then come back. But then again at 5:30, some people who weren't invited during the day show up, and at 7 o'clock is when all the youth eat, the unmarried people. Up until 5:30, again, the bride and groom are mingle, hang out, shake hands. After every meal, everybody walks up past the bride and groom's table and shakes their hand saying congratulations. And ask any married Amish couple, they will probably remember how sick and tired they are of hearing congratulations, because that's what everybody says. But yeah, and then they just open gifts. The gifts are usually, if it's not cash, it's they get a lot of gifts, but they're usually gifts that are, like bath towels, wheelbarrows, shovels, stuff that will help them in their new life, in their new married life, and usually the parents of the bride and the groom will buy bigger gifts, washing machines or ovens or something like that, depending on where the couple, sometimes the guy has already bought a house with appliances in it, sometimes. So just depends on what they need. That's kind of what the gifts they'll get. And a lot of cash is given to them. So yeah, like I said, at 4:30 the cooks eat, and then at 5:30 they have the evening. The people who weren't invited during the day show up. These are all married people. This is usually when the non-Amish people are invited. That meal is where you can sit with your wife. So everybody sits with their husband and wives sit together, and small kids if you have small kids. Once again, the wing tables are filled up with family. The rest of the tables are filled up with the rest of the guests. And then the little boys sit in a table, and the girls sit in a table. So because as a young boy and a young girl, it's cool to not sit with your parents in church, in weddings, anywhere. You're with the boys or you're with the girls. At that meal, the bride and groom and the side sitters, the Navahawkal, they will not eat a meal. They will maybe sip on some wine or some food drinks they made, and usually just have some appetizers. Sometimes I remember having shrimp as a Navahawkal, because they will eat their dinner with the youth, 7 o'clock. So once that meal is done, the table waiters have done their job. Once again, everything gets cleaned up. Everybody eats, and everything gets cleaned up from 5:30 to 7. And then the 7 o'clock, other table waiters, usually young married people, good friends of the bride, are called in to take the table waiter's place so the table waiters can eat a nice meal with the bride and groom, because the table waiters are always close. They're closely related or good friends with the bride and groom. This meal usually can get a little rowdy depending on who the bride and groom are. If the bride and groom hung around the Clinton youth when they were in Rumspringa, when they then it does not get too rowdy. Usually there's not a lot of alcohol involved at that wedding. If the bride and groom hung around the car youth when they were in Rumspringa, or the wild youth, whatever you want to call them, the table waiters, who are their friends, usually are still in that Rumspringa, and they are still a little rowdy. The table waiters will, in that case, will oftentimes have an area somewhere on the wedding location where they kind of hang out and they drink. A lot of them contain it. There's a few here and there who will, usually the young ones who are just turning 16 or just 17, they will get a little too, they can't handle their alcohol. They drink too much. They can't, So it sucks kind of sometimes to see that. I'm talking about that a little area where the table waiters are, because the table waiters, when you're Amish and you're in Rumspringa, and, especially if you're driving cars and you're drinking and smoking and all that, the attention is almost as much on you as the bride and groom. It's funny because everybody's wondering, oh, who's this person? Who's that person? Could those two get together and be a couple? Or could they, everybody's nosy about what's going on with people in Rumspringa. Oh yeah, they're dating. Oh, they should date, all that. But another thing is the kids. The kids look up to these guys. I remember as a kid, I remember weddings, I would look up to these table waiters because you pretty much have to be 16 and older to be a table waiter. And I would look up at these guys. Oh, they're so cool. They have, at the time they had the side part haircuts, and a couple of them were driving those old Firebirds, the old kind of, early 90s or 80s, late 80s, early 80s Firebird, the Firebird Trans Ams and the sports cars and the big Chevy pickup trucks. And they had radios, they smoked cigarettes, and they were drinking beer. And you look up to them like they are the Hollywood of the Amish. As kids, we're always told to stay away from that table waiter area. You can't go in there. They're doing stuff you shouldn't, as a kid. But that just makes you curious. So you're peeping around the corner and yelling things at them and trying to, just being immature. The table waiters they're the cool people at the wedding. They are the cool people in the kids' eyes anyway. So at 7 o'clock, the bride and groom once again sit in their ek dish with the side sitters, and the wing tables are now filled with table waiters. And usually the table waiters get an extra special drink. Sometimes it's spiked, sometimes not. And they usually get a little bit of extra food. Maybe we'll get some shrimp on a stick, kebabs or something like that. Something the rest of the people don't get. And then the rest of the tables are filled with youth, Amish youth who are in Rumspringa, who don't have a part in the wedding but are invited in the evening. So they'll fill up the rest of the tables. And yeah, the meal is served same as always. It is a usually louder meal because the youth that do show up, some of them do drink before they come. Weddings are usually on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So they'll show up and drink a little bit, and some of them drink too much. But they're usually rowdy and loud, because they're used to. I'm thinking the car youth, because that's usually the weddings I attended. Clinton youth might be more quiet. If you don't know what I'm talking about as far as car youth and Clinton youth, go watch my video on Rumspringa. Also, hopefully in a card right there. It explains my experience in Rumspringa, and hopefully that'll give you a better picture of the different groups of Amish youth that were in our area, the community I grew up in. None of this, remember, as I stated in that video, none of this drinking and alcohol is, the parents don't like it. They do not, the Amish parents don't want their kids to be a part of the car youth, to party and stuff like that. They encourage their kids to not do that. Just to be clear, that is not everybody, all the information out there says these parents send their youth out into Rumspringa to experience the world. That is not the case. They try to keep them with the Clinton youth, to keep them Amish. But when they do choose the other route, they don't kick them out of their house. They're like, okay, well, we'll just be praying for our son or our daughter during this period. Hopefully she'll come back, right? So, and most of them do. One thing I almost forgot, when the youth show up for that 7 o'clock meal, they gather, they hang out outside, and the couples who are going steady, or boyfriend, girlfriend, will go in first. And then it typically kind of goes by age. But what happened in the past, I don't know if it happens so much now. It's been a long time since I've been at a wedding. But what used to happen is all the girls would line up or kind of hang out by the entryway to the reception. And the boys, the guys, would kind of by age file in to go eat when somebody came and got them, because we usually hung out there by the cars and stuff. So somebody would come get us, and then we would file in. And as we were going into the reception, we had to pick a girl to eat with. That sucked. I hated that. We would always try to hang back towards the back of the line. So usually they ran out of girls. Not all the boys had to pick. But yeah, as you get older, you kind of get shoved to the front and you have to pick a girl. I don't know why that is so awkward, so weird, but it just is. It kind of is, because all the adults are standing outside. Who's picking who, you know? Oh, he picked her. Oh, you know, you can hear those old ladies gossip about things, right? It was just really awkward, and it sucked. And I think it sucked for the girls too, because some of them were left till last. I don't know why they do it that way. Sometimes we were lucky. We tried to convince them to just let the boys sit on one side, or the girls on the other, you know, of the table. Or you line the girls up, you line the boys up, and whoever falls into place, that's how you go in. That might have encouraged more drinking, so it's less awkward. I don't know. During this time, the wedding cake has been cut, I think at 5:30 maybe, and has been put on plates. I can't remember if wedding cakes served, because they do have wedding cakes, nice wedding cakes. I can't remember if it's served on at 5:30 or not, but it is served. Wedding cake is served as part of the dessert at 7 o'clock. Punch is made. Usually somebody's designated to make the punch. They make it in a big 55-gallon drum. And then the couple, the bride and groom, on their table, they have a big punch bowl with punch, some dry ice in it to give it the smoking effect, and the couple will serve people punch. That's when the little kids come in for punch. That's when the adults get punch. Punch is served to the youth at the table by the table waiters. And yeah, after they're done eating, the youth are supposed to sing songs. I think that happens a lot more in Clinton weddings, but it's kind of a thing in the past when somebody gets married that came out of the wild, that has more wild youth that they invited. And then, once again, everything's cleaned up. Everybody goes home. Usually between 8 and 9 o'clock, things are just starting to get buttoned up. Probably at 8:30, people are just kind of lingering around. All the work kind of has been done. During the 7 o'clock meal, I don't know if this is just an Amish thing or if it is in normal weddings, but somebody will start by taking their spoon in their water glass. They'll start knocking it together, and then everybody else joins in, which means that the bride and groom have to kiss. So they will make that noise until the bride and groom kisses. Some grooms have been known to not do it just to annoy everybody. So they'd be doing this forever and ever and ever, right? Just to be a little stubborn. They always do. You got to do it to cut the noise. Amish weddings are very, very special. They're very important to them. Amish are very family oriented, and weddings are a huge thing, and as they should be. They make an all-day affair out of it. It is a big ordeal. It is huge. One thing, and the bride and groom, I don't know if anybody's gone on a honeymoon. Maybe they do. But the bride and groom go home tired. They're whooped. They've shaken so many hands. They've heard congratulations so many times. Preparing for this is exhausting for the bride. Because it's at her house, right? All the stress that comes with planning a wedding, because a lot is happening in one day. So you're doing all this prep work to have that one perfect day, and you're just hoping nothing goes wrong. It'd be nice to interview a bride to just, to hear some of her feelings and stuff going through that. Maybe I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to do that. Maybe an ex-Amish person can explain it. I always really enjoyed attending weddings as a table waiter. I didn't drink a whole lot. Maybe maybe I had a beer or two. I like to experience the day for some reason. Maybe I don't know. That's my feminine side coming out. I have drank too much at weddings and I regretted it because I just didn't remember most of the day. So for most of my siblings' weddings, I think for all of my siblings' weddings, I stayed pretty sober so I could experience it all. Here are the two pieces of information I said I would share with you. The first one is really weird. At the 7 o'clock meal, the bride and groom, keep in mind, they know a lot of people in this community. You just know a lot of people, so you can't invite everybody. So at the 7 o'clock meal, if you are a youth who wasn't invited, sometimes you would do what is called bella. I do not know how to translate that word into English except for bell, like ringing a bell. So it'd be hitting, imagine one of these Liberty bells and you're just hitting it with hammers. It doesn't happen as much, if ever now. I'm not sure if it's happening lately, but it used to as a kid. I remember as a kid I would watch these people. They would show up. So the Amish youth, when they're invited to a wedding, the girls wear nice colored dresses, nice dresses. The guys wear white shirts and black or gray pants. That's it, right? You dress up to go to the wedding. But these people who weren't invited, who were offended, they never really were hurt, had their feelings hurt because they weren't invited, right? But they would show up with a stand, and they would take a huge saw blade. They'd be in street clothes, sometimes in like Halloween masks or something. But they would put this big saw blade on this stand so it could freely sit and wobble. And then usually guys, they would just take hammers that they had brought and they would just start banging on this. Right, and they would set it up right outside the Ek dish, right outside the shop where the corner table is. And they would just bang and bang and bang. Sometimes they would bring chainsaws without the bar on it, and they would rev those things. They'd be drinking and laughing and loud, and just to get back at the bride and groom for not inviting them. As little kids, these guys were, whoa, and we would always try to get up close to them and stuff, and they would say, get out of here, we're going to pull your pants off. So they asked you, I'm going to pull your pants off, and that scared us, so we would run because we didn't want to be seen in our skivvies. And and then the tradition was that the bride and groom would send somebody out, an adult out, and would say, hey, okay, you guys be quiet, come in and get your candy bar. So those guys, masks and all, street clothes, whatever, dressed weird if they wanted, would file through this wedding where everybody's dressed up and sitting, right? They would file through there to the corner table and they would get handed a candy bar to be quiet. That was just a tradition that used to happen a lot more back in the day. The other thing I wanted to share with you is, like I said, I don't know of any bride or groom that has ever gone on a honeymoon, but I'm not saying they won't, because they could. Usually they hang around the next day to help clean up more, make sure the cook wagon's ready to go back to whoever rents them out, make sure, the tent's ready to get taken down, the tables get taken down. But they are supposed to, as newlyweds, wait 3 days to be intimate with each other. I do not know why this is. I don't know if this is something that might be in the Old Testament. I don't know if this is just an Amish tradition. It's supposed to be a time of prayer for your children, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, all you ex-Amish people. But I think it's supposed to be a time of, prayer for your children, their health, their, everything will be all right. Maybe prayer for a family as you're growing a new family now. Is it a bad thing? I don't think so. But, God did invent sex, and it's good inside of marriage. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of that in the comments below. That's the wedding. Thank you guys for watching. It's another long one. Sorry. It's a lot happening. I'm sure I missed a lot. If you guys have more questions, let me know in the comments below if you want a live Q&A on weddings. That I can, and maybe, I can answer your questions live, because there's a lot of stuff I probably didn't think of. And I just take for granted that everybody knows because I just grew up with it. I am CJ. This is the Amish Potato. We will see you next time.